we're going to discuss solving absolute value equations and inequalities. So let's try to remember what absolute value means. Absolute value means distance from zero on a number line. So if I have a number line and there's zero, when I'm talking about the absolute value, and that's what these two long lines here mean, the absolute value of what number equals 8? Well, basically, we're asking how far away from 0 can we get that it's still 8 units away. Obviously, if you look at the distance from 0 to 8, that's equal to 8. So x has to be 8. The absolute value of 8 equals 8. But if you think about it, if you're talking about a negative 8, there's still 8 units from negative 8 to 8. So x can also equal negative 8. Sometimes people think of absolute value as always being positive, and that's true, even though I'm not sure why I wrote a negative 1 there. I'm sorry, this should say negative 8. Absolute value is always positive, but more specifically, we're talking about distance. And when we say distance, we don't usually tell someone to travel a negative 2 miles or a negative 20 miles. We tell them what direction to go in, and that's what absolute value means. Absolute value is the distance away from 0. So if you're looking at the absolute value of what number equals 8, if you took the absolute value of 8, that equals 8, but so does the absolute value of a negative 8. So you really have two solutions. So when you solve absolute value equations, you actually need to solve two equations. Let me show you what I mean. Right here we have solved the absolute value of x minus 4 equals 8. Remember, that means x minus 4 equals 8, but it also means that x minus 4 equals a negative 8. That's this idea here. Okay, absolute value is the distance from 0. So the absolute value, since it's always going to be positive, inside here can be a positive or a negative. So when you have an equal sign, so an equation, you're basically going to set up two equations. X minus 4 equals 8, x minus 4 equals negative 8. Solve these equations just like you always have. So we'll add 4 to each side, and we get x equals 12. Same thing over here, except we're going to subtract 4 from each side. Oops, no we're not. I'm sorry. We're going to add 4 to each side. And we get x equals negative 4. So there's going to be two solutions. X equals negative 4 and 12. And don't get caught up too much in how you write this. This is good enough here. But I want to show you why this works. If I were to input a 12 right here, I would get the absolute value of 12 minus 4. Does that equal 8? Well, 12 minus 4 is 8. Is the absolute value of 8 equal to 8? Yes, it is. Let's try negative 4. Again, we came up with x equals negative 4, so let's plug that into our equation here. The absolute value of negative 4 minus 4, does that equal 8? Negative 4 minus 4, or negative 4 plus a negative 4, that equals negative 8. Is the absolute value of negative 8 equal to 8? Remember, absolute value means distance. So distance from 0. So how far away from 0 is negative 8? It's 8, so it works. That's why we can have two different solutions. Let's look at one more example. So solve the absolute value of 5x plus 1 plus 3 equals 14. Now, in this case, ladies and gentlemen, don't try to do anything with a positive answer and a negative answer until the only thing you have on the left or the right side is the absolute value. Here's what I mean. Get rid of this 3. Okay, we don't want to start dealing with this absolute value until that's the only thing we have over here on this side. So we'll just easily subtract 3 off of each side of the equation. And now we're left with the absolute value of 5x plus 1 equals 14 minus 3, which is 11. Once you get to this part, you can treat it just like we did here. Set up two equations, okay? Because remember, this distance has to be 11 units away from 0. It can be either on the positive side of the number line or the negative. So you set up your two equations, 5x plus 1 equals 11, and then you can have 5x plus 1 equals negative 11. Okay, because the 11 and a negative 11 are both 11 units away from 0. Okay, but solving equations doesn't change. Subtract 1 from each side. We have 5x, our 1's cancel, equals 10. And then you just divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1x. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Doing the same over here, we subtract 1 from each side. Bring down your 5x. Your 1's cancel. Bring down your equal sign. Negative 11 minus 1, negative 11 plus a negative 1. Either way you look at it, you're going to get negative 12. Okay, and then divide both sides by 5. And we're left with x equals a negative 12 fifths, because that cannot be reduced. Or if you type that into your calculator, it comes out to a negative 2.4. Okay, either way is fine in this case. But again, we come up with two answers. X equals 2, which means if you put a 2 in here, we get 5 times 2, which is 10. 10 plus 1 is 11. The absolute value of 11 is 11, plus 3 is 14. Or we get x equals negative 12 fifths, or negative 2.4. Okay. Again, you plug that in, and what you would see, because if you go 5 times negative 2.4 plus 1, you'd get a negative 11. The absolute value of a negative 11 is 11, plus 3 still equals 14. So just to kind of sum this up, when you're solving an absolute value equation, make sure you get rid of all the extra stuff so you only have the absolute value left either on the left or the right side. And then solve just like you would any normal equation, except you set up 2. In this case, 5x plus 1 was equal to 11, and 5x plus 1 is equal to a negative 11. And again, I apologize for my screen going black there for a second. Okay, so set up two equations and you will get two solutions.